All right, now we're going to go from xenophobia to inclusivity after the Paris attacks. Many people, of course, are saying, why can't we all get along? And why does there continue to be all of this bloodshed? Earlier, I spoke with Sahar Al-Salani, who is a board member of the Council on American Islamic Relations and also lives in Stony Point Center, which is home to a multi-faith community that's dedicated to the practice and the study of hospitality, nonviolence, and justice. And I started off asking her for her reaction to last week's attacks.
Well, like most of the rest of the world, I was upset. I was disgusted. Any act of violence against a non-aggressor is completely against any of our religious principles, any of the world's religious principles. When I had first heard about the cartoons, of course I was offended. Any attack on any religious figure offends me, whether it's against our prophet, whether it's against Jesus or Moses, peace be upon them, whether it's against Mother Teresa, or whether it's against my neighbor. Any act of slander is unacceptable to me. Well,
those cartoons in particular, some say were blasphemous, but how would you, as a Muslim media marketing professional, how would you react to that?
I would probably follow the standards that I take from most of the religious figures that I aspire to be like. Prophet Muhammad, during his time, was offended many times throughout his ministry. He chose to walk away, as I'm sure Prophet Jesus did, as I'm sure the Buddha did. Any great leader is usually faced with a lot of criticism. I personally believe they would have risen above it because they have much bigger things, much bigger picture to worry about. I would probably counter it with enlightenment, with education, with dialogue. I wouldn't fight fire with fire.
Yeah, try to let it calm down a little bit. Well, we do know that there are a couple of social media hashtags out there that are trending: Je suis Charlie, and also Je suis Ahmed, and now Je suis Juif. How do you think social media plays a part in perhaps raising awareness of some of the divisions, but also in your work, which is bringing people together of the interfaith communities?
Well, with any kind of freedom of speech comes great responsibility. The media has the responsibility to bring people together and to inform people. I am a big proponent of free speech. One of the things that these hashtags do remind us is that Muslims were not immune to any of the violence that, Muslim people were. As in 9/11, as in the rest of the terrorist acts around the world, Muslims are also victim to that.
Because the police officer who was guarding the Charlie Hebdo offices that was gunned down was in fact a Muslim.
And a copy editor was also Muslim.
He was as well. So again, affecting everyone, this kind of violence that we see. Do you feel that moderate Muslims do in fact have a duty to somehow explain, radical extremism?
Well, being a media professional, I do know what brings in ratings, and I do see how the media tends to be biased and focuses on stories that bring a lot of attention. Mainstream media, you have to remember, 1.5 billion people, 1/5 of the world's population, happen to be Muslim, and they are active, productive members of society.
And also doing a lot of things like Muslims for Ferguson and Green Muslims. Tell me about your work in those organizations.
Well, a lot of Muslims have been active in the climate justice movement and the social justice movement. I spent a few weeks in Ferguson myself. A lot of people are involved with relief efforts. Part of being a Muslim is striving for justice. As with any of other collective faiths, Islamic Relief is one of the biggest worldwide relief agencies in the country. Red Cross's sister organization,
Red Crescent, yeah,
is one of the biggest disaster relief organizations. I think as a media professional, we should strive to unite people and remind people about charitable efforts and improving the status of the world rather than dividing and spreading hatred.
And focusing always on exactly these kind of bloody episodes. Sahar Al-Salani, thank you so much for joining us today on Arise News Weekend. We really appreciate your insights today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
And you're watching Arise News Weekend.